Delegation is something that you're going to need to do eventually if you want to scale your business. If you want to stay where you are, cool, keep doing the jobs that you're doing at the moment. But if you want to scale, you're going to have to cut back with certain tasks that you're doing, give it to someone else in order to have that time to focus on the high leverage work. Okay, this is what's going to push the business forward. This isn't for everyone. These are for people that are doing at least 10K a month. However, you are doing most of the tasks within the business. Okay, you may be doing the low leverage work. These are things that you can't be doing long term. Eventually, it's going to have to be outsourced to someone else. You probably clicked on this video because you know what task that is and you know that it has to be outsourced pretty soon. Maybe you already have tried to outsource this task in the past. However, it didn't go right. You've been burnt before, it's left a sour taste in your mouth. Maybe you think that outsourcing isn't for you. Look, outsourcing is for every business that wants to scale. It's just about whether they do it right or they do it wrong. This is the real problem. It's not the fact that the money isn't coming into the business, because it may be coming in, alhamdulillah. However, this isn't a position that you want to be in order to scale. Maybe you're doing things that you were doing previously, and all those tasks that you were doing got you to the where you are at the moment, all right? And that's good, and you feel comfortable with that, but you have to be uncomfortable in order to scale. You may have to make certain decisions within the business that are uncomfortable. You may have to outsource certain things to other people, and then that will allow you to grow. Then that will allow you to scale. But at the moment, your focus is being pulled in too many different directions that you can't even focus on the things that matter. You can't focus on the things that are actually going to scale the business because you are focusing on low leverage work. Okay, like it says here, too many hats equals constant context switching. Constant context switching means that you can't focus on the things that you actually need to focus on. And it's not about, oh, I can do all of these things myself. That's not the ideal. The ideal is that you want to be focusing on only the high leverage tasks. There are people out there, your competition, that are exceeding you because they are focusing on the work that matters and they are outsourcing the work that they don't need to do anymore. Like I said before, maybe you have tried to delegate before, maybe you haven't, all right? But there's certain reasons why delegation doesn't even work in the first place. The structure. The structure is probably the biggest factor, because if you just try to delegate to random people on Fiverr, random people on Upwork, people that you are reaching out to instead of them coming to you, you start to lower your standards because you want them to work with you rather than them wanting to work with you instead, all right? You're in a point of low leverage. If you want to hire, you need people on your side that want to buy into your vision. You need to find people that come inbound, not outbound. Don't be looking for people. Let those people come to you, okay? It's way easier to hire those people because they actually want to work with you. When it comes to the interview process as well, this is part of the structure, and this is where a lot of people get it wrong. They don't know what to ask in the interviews. They're getting on the interviews with the wrong people. They haven't set their standards before the interviews. So say, for example, you want to only work with Muslims. Why would you hop on a call with someone that isn't a Muslim if that's one of your non-negotiables? That's what a lot of people do when they hire. And it sounds silly and it sounds simple. Why would you even get on a call with someone like that in the first place? But that's what people do. And also hope-based decision making. When you just think, okay, this guy sounds okay, of course he's going to sound okay. He wants the job. But you need to look through and make sure that the whole process of you hiring is foolproof. This is where the structure comes in, and this is where most businesses miss: doing too much too fast. Okay, look, we know that you've realized that you need to outsource a certain task. Okay, now you're doing it with every single task, right? This isn't also how to do it, right? Take baby steps, chill out, okay? You can't be doing everything and outsourcing every single task that you don't need to do in one day, okay? That's not going to work. It's actually going to cause more chaos, right? You need to outsource certain tasks. You need to make sure that those tasks are getting done properly so you can track it nicely. And then after that, outsource the next one, outsource the next one. But if you try to do everything at once, you're going to be putting too much load on your shoulders. Delegation works, okay? It works. And you can do it with multiple tasks, but not all at once, all right? It doesn't work when it's all at once. It's too much overwhelm. And especially if you're at 10K a month, especially if you've never delegated in the past, do not try to just delegate to everyone. This is where people go wrong. They get overwhelmed, it burns them, and then they never want to delegate again. And guess what? If they never delegate again, they never scale their business. Don't be one of these people either. A lot of people also make emotional decisions when it comes to delegating as well. Emotional decisions are not going to help you, all right? The things that you think in your head, the fear that you may have because you don't want to delegate, or when you do delegate, you delegate to the wrong people. So many emotions come into play when you're delegating, but that's why we said earlier, you need that structure. Maybe you think that, oh, I've been burnt in the past, so then I don't want to delegate. Maybe you think that the training costs will be too much, the time is going to be wasted, the money that you're going to pay is just not going to be worth it, they're going to leave anyway. These are valid things to think, but at the same time, every single person who scaled a business had these doubts as well, but they just had the right structure, executed it well, and it worked out for them. As long as you have the structure, none of these emotions matter. Why would you get your emotions involved? At the end of the day, there were so many emotions involved with you getting to the point you are within your business anyway. You just need to go through and break a few more of those barriers again in order to scale to the next level. So, what does proper delegation look like? First, we start off with one task, one thing in the business that you are doing yourself that you shouldn't be doing. You find and identify that thing. Identifying what the bottleneck is 50% of fixing the problem. Actually, fixing it comes next, but making sure you identify which one it is probably one of the most important things, because that's clarity. That's clarity on what actually needs to be fixed within the business. After you found out exactly which role you need to outsource, you find the person. But you don't just find the person and make sure that there's someone that's just willing to do the job. You want to make sure that you filter properly before the interview. You filter properly. You're not just speaking to random people on those interviews that would never work with you. You're talking to people who are genuinely interested on what you're going to do and are there for the long term. I'm telling you, if you just hire whoever that is just willing to do the job, you're going to have problems down the line. Okay, you need to vet these people extremely well. Otherwise, you're going to shoot yourself in the foot. This also ties into hiring for alignment and standards as well. There's certain non-negotiables that you're going to have within the business that you can't compromise on. And I'm not telling you to compromise on them. I'm telling you to make sure that you keep those standards high. You know exactly where the business is going to go. You know, and you have the vision. Don't let someone else take that away from you. Okay, make sure that the alignment and the standards are in par with the person that you are bringing on to the business for that role. And at the end of the day, it should reduce your mental load and not increase it. Okay, this should be reducing your stress. This should be taking away from the focus that you were previously putting in to this task. Now your focus is taken away from it, and you're only inputting, keeping an eye on this person instead. That's how it looks like. This is what you want it to look like, because at the end of the day, it's never going to be something you never think about. All right, unless you're like Tim Cook in Apple or something like that, and you're certain tasks within the business you're not thinking about anymore. I'm talking to people that are doing 10K a month though right now. Okay, let's not get ahead of ourselves. You're still going to have to think about the task, but you're going to be thinking about it 5% compared to the 100% that you were thinking about it before. Now, if you have delegated properly, this is what it's going to feel like. You're going to get fewer notifications and interruptions throughout the day because you have given autonomy to the people that are doing the job. It feels way better. The stress is like a weight off your shoulders, okay? Clearer thinking and decision making. You're not focused on the minute specifics of that task that you used to do. You're just looking at, okay, has it been fulfilled by this person or not? You're not thinking about the specifics of it anymore. That gives your brain way more space to focus on things that matter, okay? Because at the end of the day, you've only got so much decision making power within the day. Keep that decision making power safe, all right? Because if you don't, and you're just letting certain tasks take away from your focus, you're not going to be able to scale, because there are people out there who don't give their time and focus away to random low leverage tasks. They actually use that focus and keep it for the high leverage tasks. You also have more time with your family and priorities that matter. You have more time to go to the masjid, you have more time to pray, you have more time to read Quran, you have more time to actually focus on your obligations as a Muslim rather than being a slave to your business. Your business is obviously something that is important, all right? And inshallah, it's a tool for you to get to Jannah, but it's not the main purpose of life, okay? That's not the reason you're on this earth for that business. It's just there to facilitate your path to Jannah, inshallah. You should have a business that feels lighter, but it feels a bit counterintuitive, but that's also what will allow you to scale in the future, inshallah, as well. Look, at the end of the day, most people do have valid concerns when it comes to delegating, because it is something scary that you're going to have to do, especially if it's the first time you're doing it. And I would actually argue that it's more scary if you've done it in the past and you've been burnt before. Most likely it's because your previous attempt, it lacked architecture. You need some kind of structure. All right. The structure also ties into why they left. You're scared that they're going to leave. But if you had the right structure in the first place, they wouldn't have a reason to leave. Okay. They only leave your business if you give them a reason to. All right. If you have all the structures in place, they would want to stay, they would want to buy into your vision, and they would want to work harder than you ever would have thought that they would. And also the training, when it comes to training, the misconceptions with that, it takes too long. However, if you have filtered the right person properly, you got the right experience, you made sure that they have applied their experience to what you're doing in your business now, it will reduce the friction. I'm not going to say that it's going to be the easiest thing in the world to train. Yes, it is something that you're going to have to take a hit on. However, it's something that needs to be done anyway. You just are minimizing the risk of it. You're just mitigating the risk in terms of reducing the friction as much as possible for this person to get on track with whatever you have that you want them to do. Now, at this point, you probably know exactly what role it is that you know you need to outsource, okay? That role that you keep doing yourself, that you know someone else should be doing instead. And you can outsource this yourself. Don't get me wrong. You can find that exact candidate. You can filter them properly. You can go through all of those interviews. You can make sure that the onboarding is completely perfect. You can make sure that they've taken the right standard operating procedures in order to get onto the business. And you can make sure that you're managing them properly. You can do that all yourself, or you can forget all of that stress, because that is what we help Muslim business entrepreneurs with: reducing that stress, minimizing the cognitive load when it comes to delegating. All right, this is why we do a delegation audit for our clients. All right, we make sure that we understand exactly what the bottleneck is within their business, what task will be the smartest move in order to outsource, and then outsourcing that task as well, and making sure that the new candidate comes on as smoothly as possible onto your business, inshallah. What is that role? Maybe it's the one that you're thinking of, but maybe it's not as well. All right, that's what we're going to be able to see within that delegation audit, because maybe it's a completely different role that you haven't even thought of, that you haven't actually identified, and that's what we're going to be able to speak about on that audit. Now, don't get me wrong. All right, we're not going to help you with every single role out there. All right, we only help with certain roles. We do help with a number of roles. All right, there are a lot, but at the same time, if we think that it's a role that we can't help you with, we're going to be completely honest with you, because at the end of the day, we want good results for our clients. All right, we don't work with everyone. If we think that we can't get you results and help you with a role that you're going to outsource, we won't work with you. We don't want to take on that responsibility if we genuinely don't think that we can get you those results. That being said, if we get on the audit and we find out it's a role that we don't think that we can help you with, alhamdulillah, it's still clarity, because we're still going to have a conversation of which role that is that you're going to need to outsource. And at the end of the day, clarity, that's priceless. So in the description below, there is a link in which you can book that call with us, inshallah. And I hope to speak to you soon.